Hi, all right, I want to talk about At the End of the River Styx by Michelle Kulwicki. This is the lovely Owlcrate edition. We've got these cute sprayed edges and lovely illustrated end pages. In an act of desperation to save his mother, Zan makes a deal with the ferryman. So in exchange for his mother's life, Zan must serve the ferryman for 500 years. He has to guide souls to the ferryman to devour. At the end of the 500 years, if Zan has fulfilled his end of the bargain, he will be free to go and live out the rest of his human life. Zan has lasted longer than any of the other servants the ferryman has had, and he is now down to the very end of his servitude. So he's in year 499 and he is almost free. Bastian barely survived a car accident that took his mother, and ever since that accident he has had strange dreams of a dark, wet corridor. One night, a door appears in the corridor, and Bastian walks through it into Zan's office. Zan is supposed to hand Bastian over to the ferryman like he has countless others over the centuries, but Bastian keeps disappearing before he can. The more they meet, the more they find that they have in common, and the more their feelings for each other begin to grow. After centuries of loneliness, Zan finds that he just can't bear to let Bastian die, but the ferryman demands a soul, and it has to be one of theirs. The boys are hiding from the ferryman in borrowed memories, but Zan has to decide if it's worth giving up his chance at living in order to save Bastian, and Bastian must decide if it's worth continuing to live if it means he loses Zan. This is a very moving story about death and grief, about depression and guilt, and it does a beautiful job of dealing with these really hard topics. It's also about love and self-forgiveness as we follow Bastian dealing with his grief and guilt over his mother's death and his part in it. I liked both of our main characters a lot. I felt that they were both very empathetic, and I really came to care about them. I also liked the secondary characters, which included Dorian, Bastian's twin brother, and their best friends, Matthias and Riley. I thought the plot involving the ferryman and the river Styx was really interesting, and I liked the way the story went between that fantasy world and our world. I really enjoyed this book, but I do definitely recommend maybe having some tissues handy while you read it. It's touching, it's heartrending, and it is beautifully written. Anyway, these are just my thoughts. What are yours? Comment and let's talk about it.